So if a lighting director says, I need 20 minutes or it's not going to look good, I respect their craft because I know how long it takes. All right, then I'm getting more comfortable. I can sit on my leg like I've done my entire life.
Yeah. And then
leg. This is literally what I do every day. Get your Jeopardy pen out. This is how you ring in. This is how you can ring in. God help me. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm certainly not a natural interviewer or anything like that, but it's fun to do. And I've done a couple for no good reason other than that I wanted to with and
it's good practice too, just to have to listen to dialogue and really, there's nothing better about an interview than working on your own listening skills.
Yeah.
Because that's what I think a lot of interviewers don't do very well, especially if they have to go in with an agenda of like 5 questions.
Okay, yeah.
I learned this quickly when I worked for PBS, is like, if you have questions you have to hit, and after the first question, someone admits to a crime or something horrible, and then you're like, okay, great, so where were you born? It's like you didn't even listen to what like the morsel is that you should like really continue with, and it's an art. It is an art, actually, for sure.
Yeah, and I think for somebody like me who doesn't have the best attention span at all times, this creates like a false context where I really have to force myself to listen more than I naturally might.
It's like what's his name from Saturday Night Live, Dieter. Oh my God, what an old reference from Sprocket. Yeah. Like, your story has become tiresome.
Exactly.
And then you just dance and leave the room.
Yeah, now's the time when we dance.
Yeah.
So how's your day today specifically?
Today was interesting because we're having a lot of changes with the show, like getting geared up for season 39. We're now doing all simultaneously the regular syndicated show, Celebrity Jeopardy, Second Chances, which is a tournament where we bring back people who we felt almost was at the precipice of winning, and they didn't. So we're bringing 18 of them back. And then right after that tournament is over, we go right into the Tournament of Champions. So it's like, there's so much stuff happening in the next 2 months. It's exciting, it's daunting, but I mean, ABC announced Celebrity Jeopardy a couple months ago, and we had no idea. Sony had no idea, and Jeopardy didn't. ABC said doing 13 one-hour episodes of Celebrity Jeopardy, and we were like, what?
So that's one way to do things, just announce it and then force it to happen.
I mean, do I think we should? 100%, because the success of Celebrity Wheel of Fortune is doing so well in prime time. They're like, they're sister shows, so why not do Celebrity Jeopardy? The only difference is, with Wheel of Fortune, you're taking a half-hour format into an hour, so you have to expand it. So Wheel of Fortune is just like adding more games. We have to figure out, are we going to do triple Jeopardy? Is there going to be 2 rounds of single Jeopardy? Like, how do you make a half hour an hour?
Yeah,
and we didn't want to do 2 half-hour married together, so it would be 3 celebrities for 1 full hour playing. So for 13 episodes, if we split them into 26, that's 26 times 3, that number of celebrities. They're like, we can't possibly get 70, whatever the math is, 78 or 74 celebrities. It's easier to just get 36, 3 per 39. I'm not good at math today.
Yeah. So you were mostly interviewing potential clients or guests or contestants today, or you were working as a team?
I'm sorry. Today was mostly work from home, so it was a lot of meetings and a lot of emails and stuff. But yesterday we had our very first live audition, because they haven't had live auditions in like 2.5 years because of the pandemic. So it was in a hotel in Los Angeles. We had 4 sessions of 12 people each. So we were able to bang through 50 potential contestants pretty quickly. Do I think live is better than Zoom? No, Zoom is more convenient. I think people are more relaxed because they're home. I think if you're coming, and again, I was in a hotel where no one was wearing masks except our room. Everybody was masked. So it was I think that kind of adds to the psychology of it too, where at home, you can feel free to like show your whole face and do this. And now you're showing up and you're trying to emote while you're playing with a mask over you. So it's hard to get a good set. I mean, people are smart because you can hear them, but you can't see the full face of emotion. And it's interesting. I talked to so many people who are doctors and lawyers and stuff too. And it's like everyone, especially with a lawyer, I've learned terrible to try to do a case with a jury in masks. You can't tell what they're thinking. You can't see any expression of their faces except their eyes. So, you know, everybody had their thing, but no, normal day when I'm at the office, it's a lot of Zoom when we're not in actual production, because we go back in production in August 1st is when we have our first taping. So this is what's considered the downtime. But in normal times, as soon as we wrap the show, then we start flying all over the country. So I haven't done this yet. We go to 16 different cities, from, you know, Vegas to Chicago to Washington, like the major ones, to try to get live auditions, because then you can go through like hundreds of people at a time instead of 9 in an hour. So yeah, so it's a different way to work. I mean, we need contestants, so that's the whole point of the job. But yeah, that's my typical work day, which is not typical. It depends what the day is.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, a couple things. I didn't expect to talk about work so soon, but
that's okay. That's all right. That's fine.
No, that's nice. It's nice. So I was wondering, like, technically what your job is called, and then also the second part of my question. Well, there's two more parts. You know, what is the most important element of that job? And then when you were in 8th grade, because I teach 8th grade now.
8th grade, okay.
To what extent did you envision this type of future for yourself, and how accurate or inaccurate were you?
Okay. First thing, my job, the title of my job is contestant producer. And what a contestant producer does is they deal primarily with the well-being of a playing contestant on a game show, meaning everything from making sure they understand the rules, making sure they understand, especially because I started during COVID, about pre-flight COVID testing, making sure it's a PCR and not whatever other samples there used to be back then. And then when they're actually at the stage, is to guide them through the process of playing Jeopardy. And, you know, some people are there for only one show and they lose, and some are there forever. I mean, this is the season where we've had these massive mega champions, which no one saw coming. And it was just really, really fortunate and lucky. But my job is to, here's the phrase I use all the time with a contestant. I said, my job is to get you on the show. Your job is to stay on it. I can't help you. You're here because of your brains, but I cannot help you stay on that stage. And that's the simplest way for them to completely absorb that. It's like, I'm fortunate that you, John, got me on the show, and now I have to prove myself that I'm worthy to do it. I also think,
let me interrupt quickly.
Sure, go ahead.
Are you part of the selection process as far as like picking who's going to actually get there?
Yes. So what happens is, and this isn't revealing anything that the general public doesn't know, with the process of Jeopardy, okay, as opposed to other shows that I've worked on, if someone says we need a wacky family from New Jersey that's Italian, then I know specifically who I'm looking for. Jeopardy is very test-based. So I don't have to go out and look for people. People have to go to the jeopardy.com website, take the anytime test, and if they pass, because there's a certain level internally of what a good score is or an eligible score, and then they go through, you know, you do it the first time because you're by yourself taking it. If you pass that, then we test you again and we watch you take the test with like 15 other people on a Zoom. Reason being, we don't know if the first time you took the test, you cheated the entire time. You know, you can come, it's a 50 question test. If you come back and you score a 50, I'm impressed with your brain, but I'm also super skeptical. It's like, how did you get all of them right? Then we make you do another test of 50 questions, different questions, and see how you do, because we're watching you then. We know no one's in the room with you. We know you're not going on Google, because we're actually physically watching you take the test in real time, all 15 of you. Then if you pass that, then you meet somebody like me, a contestant producer, and we test actually playing the game. 9 people in the room will play 3 games of Jeopardy, 3 people against each other. There's a fake, or not fake, but it's a simulated board. They would sit there with their pens, they would ring in, I would call on them, they would answer, they do Q&A, answering in the form of a question. So it's a very precise science of how we do it. And then when it comes down to it, all of my background from PBS was really helpful, because the goal of the show is to show a good cross section of the country. Maybe on a typical show, it's 3 different jobs, 3 different states that people are from. Maybe there's a common bond, depending what it is, but all of these people need to be worthy enough to play the game. So it's a lot of balancing, it's a lot of juggling, it's a lot of puzzle piecing, as we say to people who don't understand our world, that it's a lot of stuff that we take into consideration. We see about 3,000 people a year. We only have slots for 400. So they have to do the math and they have to bring their best energy and their smarts because it's super competitive. What I just learned this week, weirdly enough, is that it is easier to get into Harvard University than it is to get on Jeopardy. And I think when I say this to people, it scares them, but it should also build a fire in their belly to be like, I want this really bad. So that's the first part.
Does personality count?
Personality does help. I think if someone has a really quirky story, or if they react to something, or if they're like, you know, because I see this all the time, almost every day on stage, where someone takes a guess and the guess usually is right. So we always say to them, we're like, look, you're not actors. We're not asking you to, for every single, if you get something right, you're putting your hands in the air. If you get something wrong, you're like, oh, shuck, we don't need that.
Yeah.
But like naturally react. Oh, I got that. Oh, wow. We had a champion, Matea Roach, who's from a 23-year-old from Canada. And what was interesting about her is that although she had no reference to what I was talking about because she's young, and you would know this because DVDs, when you would find the DVD commentary, you play the audio track, that's what she was all the time. Everything in her head came out of her mouth.
Okay.
Where she would bet on something and then she'd get it right and she's like, I should have bet double. She would just say it. Meanwhile, it's like, we don't need to hear your inside voice, but that's what made her really unique. You know, there were times when she beat the other two contestants. During the credits, she would turn and she's like, commendable job. Like, she would just say it to them. And we're like, she had no censor, but I actually like that about her. So to conclude, a contestant producer is in charge of the well-being of a contestant. On every single game show, you have the set design, the lighting, the music, the host, the content, the contestants. If any of those elements can exist to an extent, if you minimize them, you don't have a show without the people. So that's why I feel that our job in our department is the most vital, because we keep the lifeblood of the show going. And there are shows that I've worked on where the upper management doesn't understand that, and sometimes you butt heads a lot, but it's like, I'm providing you the major cog in the machine, so you got to give us a little leeway here. So for those that embrace what contestant producers do, it's great. And for anyone who's watching this, even if it's just you, there's a major difference between casting producing and contestant producing. Casting is about quantity. We need 1,000 people for this season, so they just start scouring. Contestant is a very specific skill. It's after you find the 1,000 people, now I have to produce these people for the stage to make it work, to make them have fun, to make them win, to make them lose. Well, not make them lose, but, you know, make them do the best that they possibly can. And that's my job. And I've always been a people person, which leads me to the third part of the question. Like, did I know that this is what I was destined to do, I guess, is how you kind of phrased it. When I was younger, my mother and father always said to me, we knew you were going to do something having to do with like directing and producing, because when you were younger, you would take our metal party chairs, write my last name on the back of it with marker, which of course they could never wipe off of it. And then I would set up the chairs on the front lawn, invite all of the kids from the neighborhood, and I would just start bossing them around. This is what we're going to do. We're going to pretend to do a murder mystery movie, or we're going to ride bikes and one person's going to fall over. Everything was always morbid and death. I was obsessed with Agatha Christie as a kid. So I loved those books. And so I always wanted to write murder mysteries, which was a track I did not go into at all. But I think I always knew that I wanted something where I was in a good way in control, to kind of like guide people to have fun. That's how I always looked at it. And then as I started to hone my skills in college, because I went to college wanting to be an actor, and then my professor in my very first monologue class said in front of a group of students, in 30 years, I have never met a student more devoid of emotion as an actor. And the next day I went to the dean or the bursar's office, whatever it was called. And I said, get me out of this track. I don't want to be in it anymore. And they said, well, actually, we're doing something called video arts. Are you interested in that? And that day I moved over.
Oh my gosh.
Now I'll preface this by saying, before I went to college, I worked as an intern at a local cable station. So I was pulling cables, I was able to edit. So like I enjoyed that, but I don't think I really embraced it at the moment until that professor, which I actually thank him for giving me my career in the worst possible way, is I was so disillusioned by like, you're not an actor.
He might have saved you a ton of time.
I think he saved me a lot of headache, a lot of rejection, because I know what actors go through too. And then all of a sudden I just found this love of, I like to create, I like to edit, I like to write, I like to direct, I like to, and that was cool about the college experience, is that we were taught, on a set, say there's like 12 different people that produce something, that each week in the semester we would rotate positions. So one week I would be a camera person, next week I'd do sound, third week I'd write, which helps me as a producer to understand and empathize what everybody else does on the set. So if a lighting director says, I need 20 minutes or it's not going to look good, I respect their craft because I know how long it takes. And then, okay, if it's going to take you 20 minutes, then we'll figure out something else during the 20 minutes. And then hopefully everything looks great. So yeah, I think I always knew internally that this is what I wanted to do. Yeah, and have been doing it for now literally 30 years, because I started in 1992 producing, and now it's 2022. I did the math.
All right.
30 years.
Yeah. Were there moments along that 30-year path where you thought it was going to not work out, or possibly be a disaster, or possibly go in a very different direction?
Every single day I'm just like, what am I doing? I don't want to do this. And then you have these moments of joy or these moments of light where you're like, no, I'm in the right place. It took me a long time to actually find myself as a producer, until I started working with clients, and clients which equate to like what a contestant is now, because it's a stranger to me and I have to guide them through the process. So I think my first job out of college was in PBS. So it was the local public television station in New Jersey. And that was the greatest training ground, because it was a non-union shop. You could touch equipment, you can edit, you can do whatever. So that's where I really honed the skills of not only what I wanted to do as a producer, but also dealing with other people who had the money to pay for it, who relied on me to guide them to get the best product. So I think that was always there. My mentor who started me in PBS always said, specifically the foundation of PBS is to tell other people's stories. It's not about us, it's about you. And my first day on the job, she took me to lunch, and then outside of the restaurant, there was a 4 apartment building across the street. And she said, here's your first assignment. If you can get into the building, try to meet the 4 people and just explain who you are and what you're doing, because you're going to find out that everybody has a story. Everybody has something to tell. They might be boring as hell, but you don't know. I met one woman who was incredibly quiet, incredibly shy, hunched over, old. And I just asked her like 1 or 2 questions. And I found out that she and her husband for 38 years adopted handicapped children to get them to adapt to real society. And I'm like, you would never know. You would think this was an older woman in the supermarket buying peaches or whatever. And it's like, she has a fascinating background. So I think because of that, it's made me more fascinated by people. And I think working with clients, I always want to know where they come from, why they chose this path. Even when I interview people now, it's always like, how did you get to do what you wanted to do? Did you know when you were a kid? Just like you're asking me, some jobs people are like, I never thought I would be in this industry. I think I'm one of very rare, a rare breed of those that stayed focused as to what they wanted to do and pursued it and kept going. So I think that was the foundation to realize that in a world, and where I live now in Los Angeles, it's a pretty selfish city. And that's where I felt like I rose above other people, because I have the PBS foundation of always like, it's not about me, it's about your story. I just happen to be the conduit to get the information, but I want to talk to you. So I think the whole thing with contestants is I want to know more about people. I want to know what makes you tick, what makes you laugh, what makes you cry, or something that can tie into the show. And I'm like, maybe that's the story you should talk about. If someone's wearing a pin and I go, oh, that pin's really cool. They're like, well, this was my grandmother's. I said, oh, why are you, is your grandmother with us? No, she passed away. Why are you wearing her pin? Well, because she and I used to watch Jeopardy. And I'm like, well, that's the story. Yeah. So and like I said to you in the beginning of the interview, it's about listening. It's about really latching on to listen to the words that people say, and that will help you form the story or form the through line or whatever you're going to do with that contestant. Because nowadays game show contestants is not just about playing, you want to get to know them too. You know, with Jeopardy specifically, you know, I've learned this firsthand as the person who's in charge of all the on-camera interviews, is that that's the section of the show that everybody goes to the bathroom, including my own father.
Yeah.
When I was home during the holiday break, he would get up and I'm like, Dad, this is the part that I produced. Yeah, but I still have to go to the bathroom. It's the first commercial break.
Yeah.
You can't go before the show. No. Again, it goes to habit and it goes to what you're used to. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've worked on a ton of other shows besides Jeopardy. Jeopardy's the current one that I'm on. And I mean, it's a massive show. I mean, it's worldwide known, and it's very disconcerting on days because people keep reminding me, they're like, we have 12 million people a night watch what I do. They're not thinking about me. I'm just saying I'm thinking about me, and it's a crazy impact that you have on people. And with social media now, you know you have an impact because Jeopardy fans are rabid and they will talk about anything about what this person's wearing, how they said that wrong. There was a spelling mistake the other night that became a whole thing. Where it's
are there any Jeopardy fans that have reached infamy or that are on the radar of the Jeopardy crew?
Well, there's a group of people that create a blog called Buzzer Blog, and it's specifically regarding Jeopardy. So I think we've had one or two contestants from Buzzer Blog who legally passed the test and were eligible. It had nothing to do with any other way of getting on. But yeah, our fans, where the show itself right now is obsessed with a woman who I think her Twitter handle is, oh, it went right out of my head. She's a lunch lady in Wisconsin who does fashion reviews on what the contestants wear. And the contestants follow her because they're obsessed with what she says. You know, it's like this woman who nobody knows, who probably is not Jeopardy material, is just like, I love the show and I love that sweater that you're wearing, or I love that Ken wear, and she'll put up montages of like, here's everything Mayim wore this week. Now let's compare. She moved this jacket, she moved this scarf and it's like people are obsessed with certain things about the show. We've had two incidences, one that was very recent, which again, it's a judging thing, so I can't weigh in on it, but I certainly have an opinion that there was a contestant a couple weeks ago where the final answer was Harriet Tubman, and she did not finish Tubman in time. I think she spelled T-U-B-M-A and then like a portion of the N, and she was deemed incorrect. So that sent a whole, you know, judges have to make their decisions for some reason. Me personally, off record, which you don't have to edit this out, it's like my reaction was, this was an African-American woman who clearly knows who Harriet Tubman is and was eliminated because they couldn't make out the N. And I felt in the moment on stage, because we shoot things like 2.5 months before it airs, I'm like, this is going to get a lot of reaction on TV and from our viewers. And it did. The other unfortunate thing is that this was a Friday episode right before Juneteenth. And it was an African-American woman who was told no. And because she got it wrong, she was supposed to win and she didn't. So it's like, then you start to, you again, it's above my pay grade. I'm staying out of it. But as a viewer, I can understand where people are like, wait a minute, you know what I mean? And I'm not even saying it's an African-American thing, a white thing, a gay thing, anything like that. It just happened. The circumstance presented itself that it was like, ooh, this is really unfortunate.
And it wasn't a Sean Connery situation where the bottom half revealed the rest of the message. It drew
another photo. I know. Brilliant. And little tidbit, that I don't remember the order. I think Alex Trebek passed away right before Sean Connery, or Sean Connery died right before Alex Trebek. It was like a little too close to home with the SNL thing. But we always had people write into us saying they wanted, because they're still making a decision as to who's going to be the host. Everyone's going through, again, not my monkey, not my zoo. But people were teasing. They're like, we should just get Will Ferrell to host.
Yeah,
But then I don't think
that'd
people
be-
would take it seriously at all, including Will Ferrell. But
Well, hopefully he could be on the Celebrity Week.
Celebrity one, yeah. Or we always thought they had mentioned a couple years ago they did an April Fool's episode.
Yeah.
Where Alex hosted Wheel of Fortune and Pat Sajak hosted Jeopardy, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
But you never know. You don't know what can happen.
Yeah, I mean, Will Ferrell should at least do like the final Jeopardy round for the Celebrity Week or something.
Or be a clue, or
yeah,
like, or maybe there's a category, because this is the brilliant thing about the writers, and there's a reason why. When we just won this past weekend, that we won the Daytime Emmy for Best Game Show, I was sitting next to Billy Weiss, who's one of the head writers, and it was his 13th Emmy. He's been there for a long time, but I mean, their content is brilliant. What they come up with is great. The latest thing that really made me laugh a lot is there was a category where they had Johnny Gilbert, our announcer, do rap lyrics, and the contestants had to figure out who was the artist. But to hear this 95, 96-year-old man, quoting like Snoop Dogg and Cardi B lyrics, it's like, this is classic. And and we want to try to keep it current. We want to try to keep it fun. And there's so much. I think I did the math the other day that since the show's been on the air, the content writers have written over 300,000 questions for Jeopardy. That's insane.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Unbelievable. I'm sure it's a world record somewhere, but yeah. It's just really cool. I mean, I keep talking in circles, but I think it's about the love of people, and it's about the love of what I do. And I've been doing it for 30 years. I don't want to stop yet. I'm not that tired. Everyone's jaded at some point, but I always think it's I've spent an entire career in Los Angeles doing a bunch of different shows, like first season or concept or pilot. Now joining a legacy show that, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's been the same thing for 38 years. It's sometimes nice towards the end of someone's career, or at least at the highlight of my career, is to just do something where I know exactly what's expected of me every day. And that's a little comforting.
And was it a tough learning curve when you started this position, or did you pick it up quickly?
No, I think, well, the interesting thing about Jeopardy, starting during a pandemic, I had a job interview on a Thursday, and literally Friday morning, I was offered the job saying, hey, how soon can you start? And I'm like, it's Labor Day. Can I start the day after? And they said, yes, just so you know, your first day will be on set with Alex Trebek.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and then where it hit me, where I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
The very interesting, the very cool thing and the very sad thing is that at least I was fortunate to work with Alex side by side for 7 weeks before he passed. So it was definitely moments I will never, ever forget. And to go through mourning as the new guy with people who have known him for 38 years, it was very disconcerting to me, because it's like, I'm the new person on the block. But I do remember this, when I first got the job and I told Dad about the job, he said, Alex is sick. If you can say a little prayer for him every day, he doesn't have to know about it. And I'm like, you know what, this is a great idea, because like I said, I create the interview. So I have these cards that I have to go present to Alex. And Alex wasn't at the podium. So when I would go up there, I would say like a very, very quick prayer. I happen to have mentioned this when we had the Zoom memorial for him. And I mean, people were crying and upset enough. And then my story just put everybody over the edge. And I thought, not a good sign as the new guy to like make everyone fall apart.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I just wanted to let you know that I've been my father has been a fan of the show, and I've been a fan of the show. So it was just a little something that nobody knew about that gave my dad some pause and me a little pause. So it, just, it felt good to do. Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
And,
it's been an interesting 2 years.
It seemed like he was one of the most beloved people in the whole TV industry, regardless of genre. And would you say that was accurate? Because that's like kind of the common perception.
The person that I knew and I worked with for a short time is exactly the person that you can imagine.
Yeah.
I remember his book was very telling to me, because I didn't even know it. I didn't read the whole book. That he said, I want my last day on Earth, and I'm paraphrasing, obviously. I want my last day at Earth on Earth to be on a swing. He had a swing in his backyard that was like 100 years old that he refurbished. He was very into woodworking and refurbishing things. So he said the very last day, I just want to sit with people who feel very special to me and just swing for a little bit and then go to sleep.
Wow.
And the day he died, I think he knew, and he invited a bunch of like very few of his close friends from Jeopardy and his family, and got on the swing.
Oh my gosh.
Had each person sit on the swing with him, take a final photo. And then he said, I'm tired, everybody. I'm going to go lay down. He went into his bed and he passed away, which I just thought was so beautiful and very prophetic and lyrical and poetic, wherever you look at it. It's like he went out on his terms doing exactly what he was, or exactly how he wanted to go. And that is the last chapter of the book, which is crazy. So it's like, it's not like he predicted it, but he knew. It's like, if I'm this sick, I want to do what I said I wanted to do. And he went out, you know, like Frank Sinatra said, he did it his way.
Yeah.
My way. That's it. Done. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
It was really beautiful. Very sad, but very beautiful.
Is there anybody, I'm just going to jump a little bit. Is there anybody that you met that has like some sort of special personality or talent, be it famous or otherwise, that enlightened you in some way or inspired you in some way, you know, that you've had like some firsthand contact with?
My closest friend here, who was actually my contestant producer partner, Edward Ruiz. I met him on a Nickelodeon show. And the many reasons I took the show. One, it was because it's shot in Hawaii, and I'm like, okay, I don't even know what is happening right now that you're paying me to go to Hawaii. And he was the other contestant producer. He worked on the season before. I remember I didn't know him at all. You know, when you meet new people in Hollywood, it's like, oh, go on Facebook, see how many people we know together. We had like 85 friends in common. Yeah. How have we not worked with each other? So I meet him in Hawaii. The very first words out of his mouth is, are you sure you want to do this? And I thought, this is your welcome to the show. And we immediately became fast friends. Have been like very, very close for years. The reason why I'm mentioning him is because he has, all I can say is he has a gift. When he was a child, everybody thought he had several imaginary friends, but he actually could see dead people, and he can see the spirits, and he can see your guides around you. And when we were in Hawaii, we were driving to one place, and he goes, I need to tell you something. I don't know how it's gonna, how you're gonna absorb it, but one of your guides is next to you. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, I just want to pull over for a second because she needs to tell you something. And I'm like, okay, it's a she. She goes, I see an older woman. I see red hair. And I'm like, oh my God, it's my grandmother. You know, it's talking about that. And then he mentioned my friend Kate, who had passed away, that he said, I believe Kate is trying to tell you to look into the drawer of the desk that she left in your house. And I was like, then my mind was blown, because I'm like, she left 2 pieces of furniture in my house in Mount Laurel, and one was a desk. But when I moved out, I guess the new tenants came in, threw the desk out. So there's no conclusion there. But she was trying to say from beyond, there's something in the desk that you need to look for. So, you know, at first you're skeptical, and it's like, okay, is this some kind of shyster move where it's like you're trying to get information? But I've seen him read other people, and I've seen like the wind get knocked out of people. And so to answer your question, it's like someone who I've met who has a profound gift that really affected me, because it's like, you know, you go through life and it's like, we're just trying to figure out how to get through this life. And he knows a different life and from a really different perspective. So it made me very much appreciate my time on earth and appreciate the fact that maybe there really, really is life after death. And that was comforting to me. And to know that during another show where I was eating at the restaurant, or at the commissary, I was eating pasta really quick. And Edward said to me, he's like, your grandmother's behind you saying, slow down. And I see her, and he goes, did she ever wear an apron? And then my blood ran cold, because grandma would always wear, you know, the apron when she cooked. And I'm like, I never told him about my grandmother. I never showed a photo, nothing. It's like, how do you have this gift? And he says, it's been his greatest gift and his biggest pain his entire life. Because he goes, I can go into a room of 100 people. You see 100 people. I see 700 people. It's overwhelming because I not only see them, but I see their guides around them. It's insane. And I will give you a story. Most recently, we were at an Emmy event for Severance, of all shows that we were talking about. And that's the first time that Edward met Karina, who's my current contestant producer at Jeopardy. Mm-hmm. And he immediately looked at Karina and he said, "Oh, I need to," he's like, "I need to," and he doesn't do this all the time. It's not like his gimmick. He's like, "Oh, nice to meet you." Oh God, you have a dead person behind you. Yeah. But he said to her, he goes, "There's a woman. I see a woman who has like longer brown hair who's reaching out to you for a hug." And Karina's like, "I don't know anybody like that," because again, he's like, "I see somebody who's dead who's doing this to you," and she's like, "I don't know who this is." He goes, "Could it be like your mom or something?" She's like, "No, my mom is fine. My mom's home." Her mom died while we were at Severance. The next morning, Karina's like, "I need to go home. My mother died." And then again, my blood ran cold. And I called Edward and I'm like, "I don't know what you did," because she's like, "I'm convinced that was my mom just trying to say goodbye and just trying to do something." And so it was like, it was very disconcerting and very, it was intense. It was intense.
And that's an interesting location for something like that to happen.
Yeah, right.
At the Severance. Did you enjoy Severance?
Karina that night, she's like, "The only thing I want to do," and of course she didn't even know that her mom passed away until like she got home.
Yeah.
But she said, "All I want to do is meet Adam Scott. All I want to do is meet Adam Scott." She's like, I loved him from Parks and Rec." And then Edward and I go, "You're gonna meet him." And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "We both worked with him." "What?" "Yes, we worked." And then we met him and he was like, "Oh my God, what are you doing here?" And then we introduced him to Karina and it was like, it made her life. It was great. And then unfortunately, you have this high and this low.
Yeah, for sure.
Right back to back. And it was, it's a lot. There's been a lot of strange things happening here.
And how was that event? Just real quick.
It was great. That was really cool because I really liked the show. When you go to these Emmy FYCs, and FYC stands for for-your consideration, where Emmy voters go to see a screening of an episode, the cast comes out to discuss, and then there's like a party or whatever. But I mean, the real point of it is to see a show either you love, respect, or have never seen before and make a very conscious decision, just like any kind of voting. It's like, is this worthy of a vote for whatever they're up for? Is it best show, best acting, best whatever? And the Academy is really cool because this year was more hybrid. Some things were online, some things were live. But there were 230 FYCs this year between March and June. It was insane. It was every single night. I didn't go to all of them.
And who gets to go to those?
Anyone who is an Academy member of the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, the Emmys, otherwise.
And are they pay? Or is there like a?
You have to get the membership by producing. I think I could have this wrong. I think it's 150 hours of broadcast television. That's at least the first thing to get you in. And what was really interesting for me is that the first year I lived here, I did Let's Make a Deal, which was 195 episodes. So within a year, I was eligible to become a member, as opposed to someone who works on a show that's only 6 episodes.
For sure.
Never be a member until they get there. So anyone who works on a syndicated show or a strip show, as we say, 5 days a week, it's like, get membership. Why not? It's $200 a year. You get to go to the Emmys. You get all these parties, free alcohol and food. It pays for itself after like 2 events.
Oh, so all those events are just, the only cost is your membership.
Correct. I mean, you pay $200 for the year. It covers you for the entire year, and then you go to all the events. They're usually run by the network, so it's not a Television Academy sanctioned event. So they pay for all the stuff. Again, it's really interesting because members of any organization, I guess the older members are like, "There's no food. I'm not going." It's like, no, you need to go to see the show. They're like, "No, there's no."
It's just the same with teachers.
Yeah. It's like, wait, I'm sorry, they're only serving dessert. Not interested. I'm not voting for them either. And I'm like, really? But now that I've been doing it for so long, I'm starting to get in the thing where it's like, just dessert, and I'll vote for them, but I don't have to go to the whole event. You know what I mean? There's been really creative ones too.
Yeah.
Really surprise elements. I think of all the years that I've gone, the one that like really was the most surprising was the 3rd season of American Horror Story, which was all about witches. So it was called Coven. They had a small event. It was only 100 people. So you had to get into a lottery, and I was fortunate enough to get in. And, you know, they played the episode, the cast came out, but then the surprise element is they told Jessica Lange to stay on stage. She stayed, the rest of the cast came down and sat in the audience, and they pushed a piano out, and from behind the, you know, behind the curtain, very dramatic, was Stevie Nicks. So Stevie Nicks came out, sat down, and performed the song that she did on American Horror Story to Jessica Lange live as we watched it. And I'm like, what, like, you don't, it's so surreal that you're like, what is happening? Where are we right now? But you have those little special moments. There was a live thing for the for Hairspray, when they did Hairspray live on NBC.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Hudson performed right after she won the Oscar. That was awesome. There was a whole night with Lizzo this year, where, because she has a reality show on TV all about big, you know, big girls, because she did a reality show about backup dancers that she needed for her tour.
Okay.
So you have these moments where you get to meet major people. It's very Hollywood. It is very Hollywood, but it's fun. I mean, you live here, so you might as well embrace it.
Yeah, that's cool. And how about in like 30 seconds or less, anything from Severance, anyone or any moment that you thought was really great, or from the Severance event, either way?
Patricia Arquette is the coolest person I've ever met. She's so laid back. She curses like a sailor. Her character in the show is amazing. And the surprise guest, who they said was not going to be there, was John Turturro. And I love John Turturro. I just think he's
great.
I would have passed out if Christopher Walken was there, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
But the great thing is that John Turturro all he did was tell dirty stories about Christopher Walken. It's like, you know, if they say, okay, you need to be really upset in this scene, he goes, well, I don't know how to be upset. He goes, oh, I know my kids get upset when I throw my legs over my head and I fart. So maybe I'll just do that. And then he would do it. And they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, this is the person that Christopher Walken has always been. He's been a jokester. He's a great actor, amazing, iconic voice. And it's kind of fun to go to these events to hear the behind the scenes stories, more about, okay, my character thought this because of blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh no, for this intense scene, we had a burrito party backstage before we came out, because we knew there was going to be a lot of crying. So we wanted something that made us happy.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, Severance is great. It's so intense, and most of the audience was very confused by it, which I don't think I have fully figured out, which I like that I don't have it fully figured out, to be honest.
They were very confused.
And it was shot in New Jersey. Did you know that?
Yeah, I'm going to go visit that place one day. Yeah. I'm gonna go take a little tour.
Well, I mean, they're probably gonna go back soon, so I should find out.
Yeah, for sure.
Show up on set.
Yeah, anything you can.
Adam Scott, please.
Yeah, hook me up.
Tell him John Barra's here. He knows. You're right. Or as Christopher Walken would say, John Barra.
Yes. I'm gonna go to a list now. I'm gonna read a couple like rapid fire questions.
Oh, I love these. I feel like I'm right? Or something.
And then you can go as long as you want. And
I'll try to keep it brief.
So I'm going to start with a question from my friend Lou, because I texted him this morning. I didn't tell him why.
Hi, Lou. He's saying this. I know. He will eventually.
And actually, I'm going to ask you two from him, and then you pick the one you want.
Okay, cool.
Or both. So the first one is, if you could produce anything, a true passion project, what would you like to do? And that's question number one. I thought that was interesting. And then who's the biggest prick or the most difficult talent you have worked with? Even if you don't want to give a name, you could just tell a story. And that's, feel free to pass on that one if you want.
Oh God, there's a lot of pricks. As there are more great people than there are pricks, but there are definitely pricks, because it's a very egocentric town. It's very micromanaged. It's very, and I think right now the industry is getting worse again, because the micromanagers lost control of all their workers because everyone's at home. And now we're able to come into the office, it's like, oh no, they're reborn again and become more psychotic.
When you say micromanager, are you talking like Barry style? The HBO show Barry?
Yeah.
His girlfriend and her assistants? You mean like that type of micromanaging?
First of all, that's very exaggerated, but it's not that far off from the truth. And she actually was not necessarily my favorite character, but has become my favorite character because her acting ability of her mental breakdown is great. And that last episode is insane if you haven't seen it.
It's great. I saw it, yeah.
It puts her in she's taking a totally different direction now.
Yeah, Christina called that ahead of time, by the way. Christina called the whole thing like 2 episodes in advance.
That's interesting.
Very perceptive.
Who is not a prick is Henry Winkler, one of the nicest people ever on earth, and everybody will say that. Okay, now I have to think about the pricks. Oh, well, what was really disappointing to me is when I worked at the Paley Center, which is the Museum of Television and Media in New York and Los Angeles. When I moved here, I just wanted to volunteer. So I sent an email. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever. I showed up in a suit. Everybody thought I was the head of Fox or like one of the or an agent. And I'm like, I'm just here to help. They're like, well, A, don't ever wear a suit again because you look like someone you shouldn't be. But I got to work with so many different casts. I found most of the younger talent on the CW. I don't know how they've been trained to be in this industry, but I really, it's how you're raised. And I think a lot of these kids were just given fame really fast and didn't know how to handle it. And they were just rude to everybody, very dismissive. And it's like, my job is to put you on the stage or actually get you to in front of your fans. Why would you impede what I'm supposed to do? I'm being very kind to you. I don't know why you're being rude. So that's just a generic, I'm not going to give specific names.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Plus that was so long ago.
You could answer the inverse as well, like somebody who's just like the complete opposite of a prick,
like someone who
amazing.
I adore.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's David Hurwitz, who's the showrunner and has done a lot of stuff. He was one of the creators of Fear Factor. And he also, I worked with him on several shows. I worked with him on Don't, the show that we did with Adam Scott. I worked with him on a Mormon game show for families called Battle of the Ages. And he's the perfect person. He has a great appreciation for talent. He has a great appreciation for creativity. He's very open to people's opinions. He's not stoic. He's not like it's my way or the highway. He's just very open. And he also proved to me that good work can still be done in Hollywood. Just because you're like, because I have so many friends that are like, I can't do this job anymore. It's stressful. I'm stressed out. This person's yelling. And I'm like, I fortunately, and I do swear on this, and I don't swear often, I have never had a job here that I'm like, I don't want to be here. There are people who are difficult, but it never made me want to leave the industry or leave the job.
That might say something about you. I mean, that's often
I think I can absorb a lot, and I think I can
that's often
negative stuff too. I think as I get older, less things affect me. Where it's like, you know, it doesn't matter. We're all gonna die soon. Or, it's like, why am I worrying about that? Or why am I worrying about a bill that was like $50 and not $55? It's like, let other people worry about that. But yeah, it's I would say it's a higher percentage of good people. Sarah Paulson, one of the greatest people ever. Wendy McClendon-Covey, excellent. Melissa Peterman, great. All of these people that we've worked with on various projects are so lovely in person, and they know that they're big, but they don't treat anybody as if they are big. They're just like, they're normal conversation people. Another prick that comes to mind, unfortunately, because when I first moved here, I worked on a weekly sketch comedy show, and the person who ran that sketch comedy show became a little too egocentric, because he was starting to degrade the actors and saying things were not good enough. And my job was to book the talent, and I was the liaison between the actors and the producers. And so I got to the point where it's like, I don't want to be here anymore. And then I was accused that the only reason I was on the show was to secure other work with celebrities, which, side note, I never ended up working with any of the celebrities I booked. So I don't know where that came from. And this is very Hollywood. And I ended up getting let go from the show and replaced with the head producer's girlfriend, who was like, oh, I think I can do that. Well, go right ahead. And then the show collapsed. And I'm not going to say, hey, good, but know how to treat people, because what goes around comes around, and it's not great. And I was in charge of all celebrity bookings. And believe me, leaving that show, I ended up working with bigger and bigger and bigger celebrities. So if I actually did work on that show, the caliber of comedy that I would have brought into the show would have been amazing. Didn't have the chance to. Oh, well.
The other question, and I'm going to give Lou a little more time,
was
if you could produce anything, a true passion project, especially, what might you like to do? And that, I think that's an interesting question. Probably hard to answer.
It's unfortunate because I can't. This was my passion project all the time, and I can't do it because of a certain reason. I've always, even when I was younger, I wanted to do a sit down one-on-one interview with each one of my 4 grandparents. I still have the notes. I still have the bullet points in one of my folders of everything I wanted to ask them. And I never got the chance to. And I think that's my biggest regret, because I really wanted to hear from people of a different generation what their pains, their struggles, their joys and stuff were. Because I think with grandparents, you have a very surface connection to them, but you don't really know them as people, and you don't know them as like vital human beings when they were younger, or what they struggled with in school, or what their wedding day was like, what was, you know, what it was like when their parents passed away. Like all these things I just came up with, and I never had the chance to do it. I think the only way I can redeem myself is if I do the same with my parents, or maybe my aunts and uncles, like really spend time with them. I had the taste of it a little bit when I used to produce the video, like the family videos, where I got them to do funny things, but it was like, this is sitting down with someone who I know as a relative, but never like this, never just like we're 2 people talking. It's not cousin Johnny, or it's not your grandson, or it's not your brother. It's just 2 humans having a conversation. And that's always been my passion project, and my biggest regret that I never followed through on it. That still bothers me to this day. But if you want me to answer a question of something that I would produce now that I could, more children's programming. I think we need more children's programming where we're really showing, you know, I got to work on Double Dare with kids. I got to work on American Ninja Warrior with kids. I got to work on, again, the show I mentioned before, Battle of the Ages. And I just think kids are fascinating. I also, when I worked for PBS, I worked on a show for 18 years in the classrooms of public schools in New Jersey. So just being around youth all the time. I still say this in my interviews now for Jeopardy when I talk to teachers, because I say, okay, I usually say to a teacher, I'm like, well, what grade do you teach? And if it's, you know, K through 8, then I always lean in, even though there's no kids around them. I'm just like, which grade is your favorite? Be honest, like, be honest. And then they always break down. They're like, 3rd graders, they won't shut up, or 6th graders, they're not full adults yet, whatever. And I always said 1st graders are the greatest people to talk to. 1st graders will sell their parents out, will tell every secret that's in their house, and will also really tell you how you look, what you're wearing, your shirt is weird, your glasses are odd, why do you have gray hair? They're tiny adults, and I can spend an entire day talking to 1st graders. And that's what I think that's always what I wanted to do. And I think when I leave the industry, I want to go back and mentor, and I want to teach, and I want to deal with youth. I always did.
Now I'm deciding between 3 questions to ask you.
Okay, go ahead.
I think I'll go with this one.
One at a time.
Now, I know you don't have kids of your own, but you've observed a lot of parenting.
That I know of. Sorry, that's the word.
Yeah, really, I shouldn't have made the assumption.
That's rare. Yeah, right.
But you've observed a lot of kids, and you're really, you know, you're like the great uncle and all that stuff, the fun uncle and the cool uncle and stuff. And you've observed a lot of families. And do you have any parenting advice, generic or specific?
I think specific is listen to your kids, because sometimes there's a lot of thoughts going on in their head. And I think having an open dialogue, if you talk to a child like a peer to an extent, I think you'll get more trust. I think you'll get a better reaction if you really listen to them. And a lot of times, you know, some kids, depending on the age, be very whiny or annoying, where the easy out is just like, I can't do this right now. But I think when they're at that, again, my opinion, I have no scientific proof or experience with this, but I think if a kid is hyper or emotional, that's where you really should sit down and talk with them. I think meet them at their level. My disadvantage, and I learned this very quickly, is because I'm older, gray, tall, and a little intimidating, is that when I meet a kid, and it could be a 5-year-old, it could be a 14-year-old, is I always had to remember to lower my body to eye level with them. If I had to sit on the ground and talk to somebody, I do it. If I needed to bend down more and talk, because I think lording or standing over somebody is very intimidating and very scary. And my father alone has a very commanding voice that at times you always get confused, where it's like, is he yelling at me? No, it's just his voice. So I'm starting to get that voice, and I'm being really cognizant about how loud I am with people, or how authoritative I am, or how, you have to humor people too. Because again, working on a game show, it's like you're having fun. This is good. This is life-changing stuff. And I want you to have a blast the whole time. So I think my conclusion with this question is listen. It's all about listening. It's about what do they need? And maybe they don't need anything. And maybe, you know, I know between boys and girls, a lot, boys just want to express, guys don't necessarily want the advice. Girls do. Girls, no, I'm sorry. Let me repeat that because it's the opposite. I think if we reach out, we want help. If a female reaches out, they just need to talk. They don't want your opinion. Don't tell them what they're supposed to do. They're just like, I just need to express myself. That's been my experience.
Well, that's good marriage advice as well.
Huh?
So that's good marriage advice as well.
No, it is too, because it's like if your wife or your loved one comes to you and it's like, I have a problem, internally, it's like, don't give them a solution or say what they're thinking is like, maybe you should look this way. That's the last thing they want. They need somebody to absorb their pain or elation at that moment, depending what it is.
Did you have a motto when you were younger, or do you now?
Well, the new one, I mean, the new one now, just because it's a little comedic and it makes me feel better, is everyone's like, like if they say, how are you? I'm like, alive and upright. That's enough for me. And then I'll just walk away. Let them figure out what just happened. Alive and upright. That's not a great motto, but it's a nice way of not going into too many details. I hate mottos. I hate like work hard, play hard. Like those really annoy me.
Didn't you have something when you were young, like in grade school or middle school or something about like being an individual or something like that? Like, and you look like Jeff, you just looked like Jeff Goldblum for a minute there.
Great.
Stare off into the distance again. That was good. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Like something about being
that's my homage to Mr. Goldblum.
Something about being different or something, or I don't know.
I mean, I've always been different. I mean, that could have been a talented and gifted quote that came out of nowhere in fourth grade. I don't think there's been a motto that's like propelled me through life and through my career. Well, here's okay, it's not a motto, but I've always said the day that I wake up and dread going into work is the day that I should leave. I've always said that. If I get up and I'm like, I can't do this anymore, then go. Just it's not worth it. It's not worth the stress. So like I said, it's not really a motto, but it's definitely a life source or life impetus for me to remember. It's like, okay, life could be crazy today, but I still like going into work. I still like seeing people. I still like producing. And when that stops is when I know that that has to stop. Because I think once I'm fed up with something, it's very difficult to convince myself to not think that way. Even if other people say, okay, you're being crazy. It's like, no, when it's time to go. And I think as you get older too, you realize I don't need this anymore. And I want to curse. And it's like, I don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, there also was, if I can share something with you, and I don't know if I actually ever showed this to you, which I'll read it really quick. Hang on.
Sure.
It was a quote I saw when I turned 50. And that has been the quote that I have followed every single day. And you'll understand when I say it. It's brilliant because you're also approaching 50 in a couple of years, and you might feel that now, what I'm about to read. Okay. It does have cursing in it, so I won't say the full curse. I'll just say whatever.
Feel free. I
don't know who wrote this, so kudos to whoever, shout out to whoever did this. Okay. You know what's great about being 50? I'll quit any effing job at the drop of a hat. I'll dump any bad relationship at the turn of a dime. I can tell a complete stranger to go F himself if they're an arrogant asshole. There's a certain pride in knowing I've been poor, good people love me and accept me, and the best compliment I've ever gotten is, at the end of the day, my honor is more important to me than money, success, or what emotionally inept people think of me. That hit me so hard. It's like, you know what? Then I think as we get older and we get more comfortable and we're like a little bit more financially set, that you look at everything and it's like, I don't need this. I don't want to be part of it. And I think it also feeds into what our nation is like now. It's a massive exodus of jobs. People are just like, I could have died last year. what am I doing in this job? I'm going to quit. I want to focus on this. I don't want to live in New Jersey. I want to live in Hawaii. I want to do this. I want to get divorced. I want to have children. It's like people are exhausted. They're fed up. And I think they're trying to they're holding on to their life again. It's like, I don't want to spend the last part of my life being miserable or frustrated. And I'm not saying that's me. I'm okay.
Yeah.
But I think that quote is really powerful, because in my head, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care what you think.
And I think that makes it, in some ways, that makes it easier to be happy.
Yes, because I agree.
Yeah, because you don't have any pressure to
I mean,
to lie to, you don't have any, you don't have the pressure to pretend that
correct
you're enjoying something if you're not. But it sounds like
I'm
you are
very vocal. I'm very vocal. I've said this to people at other parties too, where I'm like, I wish I was more like my dad, because my dad is just, at any party, when he's done, it's like he would usually turn to mom and go, I'll be in the car. And that was enough. That was enough to set up. Now, mom could have taken 45 minutes to say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah.
But dad is like, I'm done. I got everything I needed for now. It's time to go. He doesn't overstay his welcome. He is not the last person to leave a party. And I'm starting to feel that way. It's like, if someone goes, oh, we're having this great party, it goes from 8 to 12. I don't want to know the timing. I'll show up at 8. And then if I feel at 8:30, I've gotten enough. I don't need to be here. I don't know. Maybe it's a stubbornness. Maybe it's just like a different, it's not selfish. It's selfless. I think at some point where it's like, I'm good. That's how I feel for most time. And I don't know, from like you, I don't want to turn the interview back on you, but as we get older, do you see a change in me? Do you see where it's like, I'm a little bit more relaxed, things don't bother me as much? Or do you still see me as like, no, you've always been this way kind of thing?
No, I see it. And
Yeah.
I see the confidence. I see the I think it's an earned confidence, which is different.
Right.
And I see you with your feet like firmly on the ground in terms of where your life is.
They are in slippers currently, just so you know. And there's the age thing too. Now I wear slippers.
You're standing, I guess, in the profession.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bit of a struggle, I think, to get where you are.
Of course.
And because moving across the country and like not really having anything lined up or any connections. Plus being a little bit older probably than a lot of the people who are like targeting the same positions. I would, and now all of that you see to your advantage, and the whole PBS background, you see that as the strength. But I'm sure
that actually got me the job.
Yeah, I'm sure when things were tenuous though, and like up in the air, that was hard to. Those are probably just hard times, I would imagine.
When I got the interview for Jeopardy, Lisa and Rocky are the supervising producers. They've been there since day one. These are like the king and the queen of Jeopardy. They've been there since day one. I had my interview with Rocky and Lisa and Mike Richards, who was the executive producer up until the point of the controversy, and now he's no longer the EP. But he's the person who gave me the job, so I'll always be indebted to him. It's a very gray area when people talk about him, because I'm like, I know him and I know of him. But that's not the point of the story. When I was talking about contestants and how I see people, Lisa had asked at one point, she's like, what did you do up until moving to Los Angeles? And I said, I worked for PBS for 20 years. And she goes, it shows. She goes, there's something that you have that no other person I've ever met in this job has. You have a deep, deep caring for human beings. You want people to do well. And I said, honestly, I was also taught this by my mentor, that we're in the life-changing business. And that's weird to say, but then when you really say it out loud, we do. I change people's lives. I give them the opportunity to do great and have great things happen. You look at these mega champions on Jeopardy. If I have an interview with an Amy Schneider type or a Ryan Long type, and all of a sudden they're on stage and they do well, it feels like they're one of my kids. It's weird. I feel very affected by them. And in the interview, Lisa's like, this is what we need on the show. We need somebody who has heart, who has like a beating presence. And Karina, who I adore as a contestant producer, she's super focused. She's head and I'm heart. So that's why we're a good match. Not saying she doesn't care about people. She knows how to fit what in what box. Did we do this, then this, that. She's very methodical. And sometimes that's not my strength. So we complement each other. But I think that's what got me the job. I think PBS definitely taught me to really look at people as vital human beings. These are living, breathing things that are coming into our world for one day. They don't know what we do every day. They're terrified. They're excited. They're confused. They have so many questions. And it's like, we just have to guide you. We have to make sure you look good, you sound good, and you play the game. I just want to like make you look good and now leave them alone, because they have this. This is the most special thing that Jeopardy contestants have. They got on the show because of their brain. Yeah. So don't mess it up. Don't inundate them with too many rules. Don't like get them to the point that it throws them off their game, because it's and you know, Jeopardy contestants are at a different level. Some of them are intensely smart. Some of them are spectrum smart. Some of them, you know, it's like, it's all different kinds. It's the safe haven for nerds, as I was taught. And I love that, because it is nerds unite. Come on over.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I have two quick things.
Sure.
Your mentor's name, and then also is Karina, is she the woman who does the same job as you?
Correct.
And what do you admire about her, or what do you like about working with her? Just curious. Sure. And also, who is your mentor?
Okay, so my mentor, when I started working for NJM Public Television directly out of college in 1992, the first person who gave me a chance as an intern was Sherry Hope Culver. Now, Sherry Hope Culver has been in the industry for way longer than I have. She was my boss at the public television station. She went on to run her own public television station in Philadelphia. And now she is an adjunct professor at Temple University and travels the world talking about children's programming. I think she just got a Fulbright scholarship to continue her studies. So it's amazing. We're still friends to this day. She brought her students to LA this year. And so she always asked me to come and lecture. So I come in, this time I brought the Emmy from Jeopardy. I have never seen people with more selfies, and it's like, here I am, and I'm an Emmy winner. I'm like, just be careful. Please don't break it. That's the only rule I have. But it's like, and I hope all of you have the esteemed opportunity to hold one of these. But for now, it's a very cool show and tell prop to at least say, this is what I've done. And I think our mutual respect for each other has grown so much so, you know, because again, I started as like, what was I, 19 or 20 as an intern, and now I'm 52. I've had a friendship with her for 30 something years. Yeah. And she's the person who believed in me, and she's the person who gave me a chance. So anytime I can repay her with anything from kindness to just having a conversation or mentor, her daughter is now going into the industry. So I was mentoring her. So it just feels like this pay it forward kind of thing. She's amazing. She's an amazing, amazing woman. She cares so much. And that she gave me the love of children's programming because of her. Regarding Karina Nushu, who is my co-contestant producer, I'm actually her co-contestant producer because she's been there for 18 years. So she has so much history. She's incredibly thorough. She knows everything about the show inside and out. She cares so much about Jeopardy. I mean, why would you be at any place for more than 15 years if you didn't care about the place? I've learned a lot from her. I've learned the show runs differently than other shows I've been on, and she's been a really good guide. I can also see that when you join a show, and I do know this from experience of being at the public television station for 20 years, is that, you know, there's a good and a bad with working with people for decades. You kind of, it's like a family. There are people you like, there are people you don't like, there are people that you warn others and say, be careful, this is like one of their bad days or one of their good days. So she's guided me on the intricacies of the emotional level of Jeopardy at days. And again, Jeopardy is not unique. Every show has those things. Jeopardy does not stand out for any other reason than just what the show it is. But she's incredibly, incredibly good. She's very thorough, and she's very monotonous in a good way, because when you have to give rules, you have to make sure that you're saying the same thing as what you did yesterday, today, because some contestants are held over to a different day. And if something has changed where they're like, oh, wait, you didn't say that yesterday, then it upsets the whole thing. Before she went to Jeopardy, she worked on Family Feud, and she was also a stage manager. So stage manager is a person who's in control of how the day runs. That's why she's good. She's a general, but not with the meanness part of it. It's like she knows what needs to go where to make things efficient. I mean, we just had a meeting before talking to you about like some changes, and she always has good ideas. She's very solution oriented. Yeah, we get jaded. There are things where it's like that can't be done, and then you take a step back and you're like, maybe we can do it. We'll just tweak this one or two thing. But it's been an honor, and since I've joined Jeopardy, she and I have gotten the privilege to be placed on the Emmy nominations, because I don't think they've ever listed contestant producers in 38 years. And in the 2 years that I've been there, both she and I have won back-to-back Emmys, and that's something definitely to be proud of and something to brag about. And Friday night when we won the second one, she has never been to an award show. So sitting next to somebody who has, the only thing I can compare it to is taking your kid to Disney for the first time. She was just bright-eyed, and everything was a spectacle, and winning just made everything better. You know, I've been down that road before with winning, and you do get a little jaded, but like living vicariously through her joy made Friday night fantastic. It really did. I have a great respect for her. Awesome. I've been very lucky in this industry. I really have. Yeah. With the people I work with, yeah, and the people I work for.
Yeah, I heard she has good taste in television too.
Oh, that's right. That's the David Lynch connection. She's seen him twice, and she loves to talk about it. So hopefully one day, when we have live audiences back and you can make it out here, I mean, I would love for the two of you to meet, even if it's on a Zoom or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I should say, not that there's going to be much of an audience, but you and I planned this before the Emmy thing happened, so it's not like I decided you were worthy of talking to just because you have a trophy. But you know, I was already interested before that.
I mean, that actually that's last year's. The new one comes in a couple weeks.
But I want to ask you one or two more questions.
Sure. And then, go ahead.
So this one might be a little weird, but if you were ever in front of the camera or front stage in some manner in the communication industry in some way or another, what could you imagine yourself possibly doing?
Well, or even would want to do? I have been in front of the camera in my career, and that was when I worked at PBS and I did fundraising. I was live on TV 3 times a week, 3 hours a night, no script, not making stuff up. You had to remember certain things. You had to remember the phone number. You had to remember that $32 got you an umbrella, or this is the John Tesh concert that's coming up next, or trying to remember that you're pretending to cook because it's summertime, but the food slipped off the grill and you didn't know how to react to it. So it's all that really got me prepared for live TV. And again, what I said in the beginning of this interview is knowing what other people do. I have great respect for people in front of the camera because I know what it's like. It's something I don't enjoy, mainly because of the trauma. The first time that I did fundraising, that my co-fundraising person whispered to me 30 seconds before we went on air, and he went, you know, 3 million people are going to watch this right now. And I just thought, why did you say that to me? Because I just see one camera person, one sound person, and you. And I don't know if I still have that footage, but I just remember it was definitely like deer in headlights. Hi, welcome to, and it was like, what happened to you? And I'm like, you destroyed me. I didn't know how to react. And then the second time I did it with my mentor, Sherry. So that it was like, there was a comfort level there that made it very exciting. I actually liked doing stuff on air. I don't want to be an on-air person. I way prefer behind the scenes, but I definitely encourage people who want to do stuff in front of the camera to really excel at the craft. But yeah, I don't ever want to do front of camera stuff again. That was enough for me.
Maybe you'll do some sort of thing like this though. Maybe you'll do like maybe you'll host an interview show.
Well, see that
because you have enough actual connections to like maybe make a dent if you wanted to.
Yeah, you know? I've done a couple podcasts with my friends, and that was great because it was just a conversation. Unfortunately, my iPod got stolen out of my car that had all the stuff, and all the people who did the podcast don't have the audio anymore.
I think I might have one or two things downloaded.
You know, it was a lot of stuff. Sorry,
I might have one or two things downloaded actually that you were on.
Let me know if you do.
Because I was going to make clips for fun, like
Oh, I would love to. Oh my God, I would love to hear it. I
you know,
mean,
eating like crazy food or something like that.
that was Food with Findell. That was great.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's considered on camera stuff. And that was fun because two of my really good friends in the industry, Mandel, who was an executive at Nickelodeon, and Phil, who's a news director, I'm sorry, news producer for CBS. They're also married couple. They started to do these little YouTube videos where they were eating like strange and foreign foods. And I'm like, I want to be a guest. Can I be a guest? And they're like, we don't really do guests, but yeah, sure. And then I was a guest 6 times. So they're just like, no, you were so much fun to do this with, and then I became obsessed that still to this day, yesterday, in fact, I was in a supermarket and I saw ketchup flavored ice pops. And so what I do now is I take a photo and I send it to the two of them and I'm like, yeah, thumbs up or thumbs down. And they're like, don't come over if you have those. Like, don't, please. But now it's like we have a good connection over weird foods.
Yeah.
I was always into weird foods even before then. You know that from like.
Yeah, you're kind of famous for that. And
yeah.
Weird foods and weird gifts.
But like, do I want to host a show? No. Can I do a podcast and just like do interviews? Again, when I do Zooms for Jeopardy, I have to be a host, so to speak, all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's weird. I never really thought about on-camera stuff, and that's all I do actually is on camera. Ooh, that's weird. I never now tomorrow I'm going to be all messed up from those.
Give me a quick interviewing tip that you've picked up, since I mean that's pretty much all you do is interview people.
Regarding I mean again, it's all about listening, number one.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is that for game shows specifically, I always look for energy, personality, someone who's not necessarily okay. Here's a great example, and I should send you the video because it's awesome. For Jeopardy specifically, we always tell people, how you should dress, how you present yourself. If you're going to be in your house, make sure there's nothing inappropriate behind you, or there's no kids running in and out, or your husband shirtless walking in saying, "Where's my underwear?" Like, remember, stay really focused. It's Jeopardy. We want to hold a high standard. So it's always like, make sure you're sitting upright, you're well lit. So the Zoom sessions have 9 contestants in it. So it's me, another person in my department who, when I'm hosting, they're watching and taking notes because I can't possibly do all of that at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then another person who operates the board of how you're playing. So 9 contestants, 8 contestants pop up. We're waiting for the 9th contestant. She doesn't know how to use her Zoom, which I forgive people because some people, it's difficult with the technology. She pops up on screen. She is laying down in her bed. She shows up. Like if you were to reveal, here, let me do a dramatic reveal. Right? This is exactly not going to be great, but she had her pen and everything. And she played like that the whole time. And all the other 8 people were just like, they couldn't say it out loud, but they were just like, what is happening? Yeah. So if you're getting interviewed, be presentable and be ready to interview. It's not that long out of your life. Yeah. I have to go back to Karina. Karina uses the phrase, she goes, a very wise Taylor Swift said, shake it off. If anything's bothering you, let it go. Especially if you're playing the game and like clues are going by and you're like, I got that one wrong. All of a sudden, thousands of dollars are going by and you're losing. So it's like, let it go.
Yeah.
When you're going into this, that's why we pride ourselves on being fun and happy, because we want you to feed off our energy. And that's the thing too, is that when you're doing an interview, if you need to always be polite and you have to be honest, especially if you're doing an interview and technology goes down. It's like, you have to think not only as an interviewer, but as an editor. Where can I cut that? Or where can I make an edit that makes it look seamless? Or where can I add something that doesn't embarrass somebody or make me look bad at certain points? So listening is huge, and making sure that you're hitting your bullet points, or at least, again, if you're training somebody for casting, that's different. If we're just doing an interview, it's like, feed off of those keywords and say, like, if you just said orange, for example, orange could trigger Florida. Oh, so the last time we went to Disney, what was your favorite part? So that you start to make these connections. It doesn't necessarily have to follow anything linear if it's just a dialogue with people. But if it's a finite amount of information that you have to get through, just make sure you have your checklist and you do it all. It's a lot. And game shows or
Yeah.
general or rules, it's a lot of talking. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have one thing left on my checklist,
Sure.
but before
Good, you used your checklist. Very good.
before I ask you that,
Sure.
I would like to ask you, was this, how did you enjoy being on the receiving end?
I loved it. I loved it because that's the thing too. I don't think I've gotten to the point where I'm afraid of anything. And that's a good and a bad thing, because I mean, it's a dialogue. I mean, you're my biological brother. We're blood related, but I was talking to you as if you were just any interviewer asking questions. I don't think at any point I was just like, Aunt, don't, like, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me. It's having a dialogue. And if it's eventually going to be used for something where people are learning or just for entertainment, it's great. I'm honored to even be asked. I did notice, I think I only asked you like once very briefly, like what is this? And you're like, nah, just don't worry about it. But the old me would be like, well, what kind of questions are you going to ask? Do I have to research it? Do I need to have a visual for you? Like, I don't know, what is this? I don't care anymore. That's my motto. There it is. I care, but I don't care
anymore. Yeah.
You say that all the time at work. We're like, I care, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. That works in all aspects of life. I care.
Yeah, I can relate. Trust me.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, even this, there's no reason for me to be doing this kind of stuff, but it's just mainly out of boredom. And like, if I don't give myself like a little project to do.
Sure. Yeah. I get it.
Then it's going to be housework, but that's there regardless.
Wait, are you summing this interview up by saying this was your way of getting out of housework? I'm very flattered.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
It's also late, so you have to do housework now after 11 o'clock.
Yeah, 12 people told me no, so I asked you, and then no, I'm just kidding.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Obviously, if you do upload this, share it with me. I would love to see it again.
Yeah,
or just
for sure.
The reactions. Definitely Matt Marino, and I know Lou will respond.
Yeah,
2 fans. I know.
And maybe it's a nice little artifact for to look at 10, 12 years from now.
Well, there it is. You just did what I wanted to do and didn't follow through. So I have a great appreciation for you actually doing this. And you know what? It's actually inspired me that maybe the thing is, because I felt so comfortable doing this with you, it's almost like maybe the conversation should be an interview with you and Julie and Gina, just like my own siblings. It's like I've lived so far away for so long, not just in Los Angeles, like in college and stuff. I missed out on so many things. And I think it's a nice reconnection. And look, I always brag that me and my siblings are close. We're not close that we talk to each other every single day, but I think when we are together, there's no strife and there's no stress. I am so looking forward to coming home. I need this really badly.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be emotional, but it's like the last time I was home, I was sick, and it was just not, it just felt like I have not seen people. I have not hugged people. I have not been around people in so long. And I think we need that as human beings. I just need the connection. And I'm sure we're going to share that bed again. So please bring that machine that played the ocean sounds, because it gave me really good night's sleeps.
Did how are people going to think about you when they talk about you when you're
when I die?
Yeah, I guess so. Or when they or when your brain doesn't work anymore or something.
Which could be any day now, any minute.
Like not, I guess I'm saying, like, not how do you want to be talked about, how do you think you'll actually be thought of?
It's really weird. I thought about this a couple months ago. It's like, and what a selfish statement to make, because it's like, when I die, are people going to show up? When I die, what are people going to say? What is my eulogy going to be like? Are people going to say I was funny, I was kind, I was the thing that I've gotten my entire life, that people, when I hear people talk about me, they're like, he's so fast on his feet, he's quick-witted. And people have said for a lot of time, it's like, you can almost see in my eyes the Rolodex that's spinning. Like if you just say something like carrot, I'll immediately start. You would think I was Joan Rivers with a million jokes. I'm just like, okay, what can I say that's funny about a carrot? And sometimes I do it to like reduce the stress, because if it's an uncomfortable situation, it's like just something comes up. So I hope people would say I was really fast on my feet. I was creative. I was kind. I was funny. I was smart. I was caring. I was present when someone really needed me, that I was like there for people. You know, it's really weird. I almost want to flip that question and ask my 7 nieces. As weird as that sounds, although I would never want to say to a kid, it's like, okay, so say I was dead. What would you tell people about your uncle? But I'm really curious. I'm curious what people would say. You know, people are always nice because I'm nice to people, you know, because I almost want to hear, I live far away. I don't talk to my nieces enough. I think, and that's clearly my fault. And because I'm busy, but I never think you're busy enough that you can't pick up a phone or do a Zoom or play. Like playing games with them was such a great joy to me because it was a connection to them, and then it just stopped because everyone got busy or everyone went back to normal life. But I almost need to hear from one of the nieces say, I don't know you because I don't see you that much, you know? And that actually hurts me a little bit to even say that out loud. You know, I feel very disconnected. But now I'm mom. Now I'm turning into mom. I'm like, but I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yeah, but
I'm not okay, but I'm okay. You know, so it's, I
guess in a couple of weeks we'll make all that happen.
Yeah, I miss home a lot.
Yeah, I guess that's part of the Hollywood story as well. Missing home, is that pretty much a common trope for people?
It's well, you know what? A majority of the people who live and work here are not from here.
Yeah,
it's very rare. It's almost, I call them a unicorn. If I meet somebody, I'm like, where are you from? They're like, oh, from here. Oh my God, I found one.
Yeah.
You know, and then like one of my best friends, Kami, who's from here, she's always like, yeah, you're from out of town. Please, you're an out of towner. Stop saying that LA people are rude. It's you that are rude. You ruin it for us. And I'm like, she gives me great perspective on not to just immediately negate a city that you're unfamiliar with just because it's like, oh, people in LA are rude and people in New York are just mean. When I first moved here, I asked one of my friends, the second time I moved here, not the original time. And I said, look, I need it in one sentence. What's the major difference happening right now in LA? What's the difference between LA and New York? And this person said this to me, and every person I tell is, they say to me, they're like, oh, can I keep that quote? I'm like, it's not mine. You could take it. Is in a simple sentence, in New York, when they say F you, it means good morning. And in LA, when they say good morning, it means F you.
That's pretty
and
good.
Actually, that's not my motto, but that's the motto that's fueled me the entire time I'm here. Because you can go onto a set and you're like, good morning. And they're like, what's wrong? Did we get canceled? What happened? Why are you, what's going on? I'm like, it's a nice day out. Yeah, but it's nice every day here. What's going on? And I'm like, okay, get out, whatever. Yeah. In New York, it's like, I hate you, I hate your mother, but we're going to work together and it'll be great. They put it out there. You know what I mean?
Got it. So yeah, there's going to be 5. Go ahead.
It's an incredibly exciting city and it's incredibly lonely. It's even weird to say that because there are days that are just, you know, I know that every day I can go to the beach in 20 minutes. I know I can go outside. I think because of the pandemic, because of work schedules, it's like I don't go outside that much. So when I do, I almost look at it as like it's a special event. It's like I'm going on vacation. And it's like, no, asshole. Sorry about the language. You live here. You can be on vacation every day. Go outside.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just, I don't know. It's weird. I'm still adjusting 10 years later. It'll be 10 years next week.
Wow.
10 years. That's weird.
Yeah, that is weird. It's been a
while.
while.
All the Facebook posts are reminding me, because yesterday was like my going away party in the backyard. And I'm like, my God, I don't even, I mean, I remember it, but it's like 10 years.
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
And that's how long, and JN has been closed for 11 years. So that's perspective too, because that was like one of my biggest traumas of my life. And it's like, it's such a distance, but I thank that horrible situation because it gave me what I do now. If I was at NJN, I probably would have just died there. That's it.
I'm going to give you 5 options here. The fifth you will add, and I'll just I'll put it in TV terms.
All right, go.
So it's about how you see yourself in life. All right. Do you see yourself more as a character, as an author, as a director, as a producer, or something else?
I see myself ultimately as a mentor. And I think I got the mentoring bug from Sherry, because throughout my career, I have mentored so many students and so many younger people to get into the industry. When I worked at NJN, I mentored 12, yes, 12 different students over the 20 years I was there, and every single one of them work in the industry. And I do not take credit for that. I love the fact that I was able to tell somebody keep going if they felt doubtful, to embrace what you want to do. It's a very rare breed, although it feels like there's a lot of us in this industry. There are some that rise to the top because of their heart and because of what they really want to focus on. It's not necessarily always about the money or the power or the celebrity. It's about doing good work. It's about resting your head at the end of the day and not saying, boy, I feel great. You just say, today was a good day. I changed 3 people's lives. I saw, when I worked on Let's Make a Deal, I saw someone dressed as a hamburger, and next thing I know, they won $50,000 or they won a trip around the world. They were a hamburger 3 hours ago, and now what? That's a weird example to give, but I mean, I actually dealt with people who dressed as hamburgers. But yeah, I think definitely a mentor, because I think when I start to wind down from this industry, that's why I want to teach. That's why I want to talk about, I have real life skills. When I adjunct professored at, did I use that phrase right? When I was an adjunct professor at the college I graduated from, I didn't get into the job because I had a master's degree. It's because I had life experience. They're like, you've been working in the industry for 10 years. You're perfect to do this, because you can tell these students exactly what's expected in a newsroom or on location or writing a script. Yeah. And so that's why I did it for so long, because it was an outward extension of what I did every day. And I know that my experience in college were a lot of jaded, angry professors who were in the industry and didn't succeed. And that was my education, that I'm like, I don't want to do that to other people. I want to let them know, yeah, there's good and bad, but there's also really, really magical things that happen in this world of production and world of television. But yeah, aside from a producer, I was never a director really, but producer, that's what I was going to stick with until you gave me the option. And then I'm like, mentor is definitely what I want to be remembered by. My Matt DeLucia, who was one of my students, who at the time he wanted to be a news reporter and he really wanted to work in Philadelphia. And I'm like, he's not as skilled for Philadelphia yet. And I'm like, I've always been told, try, if you can, move away to a small market, start small, get known there, and then keep moving. And he went and I think he was in like Wheeling, West Virginia or something, and was a lead reporter, and then moved from there to Maryland, and Maryland to Las Vegas, and Las Vegas. And now he's in Philadelphia, and he's won 13 Emmys as a reporter in Philadelphia. He got exactly what he wanted. And that's what I like about him. And we still have conversations. Whenever one of us wins one, we're like, okay, how many do you have? And it's great because he has 13 local Emmys, like in Philadelphia, and I have 6 local Emmys and 2 daytime. So now I do the math and I'm like, I believe 2 daytime trump all of your small ones. So it's like, I'm still winning. But I love to talk to him because he's a very, very well-known and well-respected reporter in Philadelphia. That's the number 4 market in the United States. It's great. Yeah.
Is there a question this evening that you wish I asked you, or that I should have asked you, or that I should now ask you? And if not, that's it.
Well, like every good interview ends with, do you have any regrets?
I don't want to ask that.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. Even the bad times in this industry and even bad times in my life, I don't regret it, because I've always wanted to. I kind of knew younger, and as I was getting older, that I wasn't going to take the traditional route of like getting married and having kids and like a big house and stuff like that. I just knew I was different. I just knew that my path was different, and I embraced it. And I said, I don't care what people think about me. I don't care about people saying, you know, even own family members, that it's like, well, you're not complete because you're not married or you don't have kids. And it's like, I always fought that. And I just said, look, you have to accept me for who I am. I decided to choose a different way. And I think, and weirdly enough, it reflects when I come back and visit, that it's like, oh, it's Uncle California. He gets to like have fun with us and torture us and then he goes back to his like life over there. So, you know, like I said, there's a sadness to it, but I also feel very content. I haven't felt content in a while, and that's a strong word. I feel very content and focused and just waiting to see what the next thing is. I've always said to friends, I think my real bliss is to, at the end of this career, whatever it is just have a little hut where I sell maybe hookah beads and weed at a resort. Because you know what, at the end of my life or the end of my career, I want to be around people who are at their happiest. And I think when people are on vacation or people are out of their own hell, why would anyone not want to do that? Why would you not want to, like, it's all about being content and it's about being happy. So I hope to get there, but I'm working on it. And as of now, I feel good. As of today, I feel good. Tomorrow could be different, but who knows?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yep.
You're fine. I mean,
I care, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I think that is my motto now.
All right.
So and I might say that incessantly on vacation, so who knows?
So we accomplished at least something today.
we scratched the surface. This has been really good. It's been very cathartic for me in a weird way. It just feels good because there's a lot of things I haven't really talked about, and you brought stuff out that I think, and nothing like salacious or secretive. It was just like, I don't get to talk about this because I miss teaching and mentoring, because there's no one to teach or mentor right now. It's like I'm learning. So this was really good. I thank you for asking me to do this. Seriously, thank you.
You're welcome. And I thank you.
Please send my best to the girls and to Christina as well. Are all of you going to the house?
We will all be there. Yep.
Great. Okay, good. I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Thank you. Let me know if you need anything else, all right?
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay, you're welcome.
It was a pleasure, and I hope this turns into some nice sort of artifact, or I'm sure it can't possibly not be amusing, at least like 20 years from now, you know, if not next week.
Yep.
So, all right, cool. And I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Jeopardy.
Adds one more.
Oh my God, there's John. There's John.
Recognizing the magic literally performed by our staff and crew, represented by some of the people behind me. Thank you so much. This is really
All right, John.